Welcome back to ASTR, the bi-weekly video magazine of the General Conference Office of Archives, Statistics and Research. Thanks for joining us as we bring together the best of the Adventist Church's past and present in order to inspire for the future. I'm David Trim, Director of ASTR. In this episode, Dr. Dragoslava Santrac and I bring you a moving and inspiring story of two missionaries to East Africa, which comes from the online encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists. Then is our regular statistical nugget from ASTR's data collection and publication team, which this week is on how the Church's evangelistic outreach efforts have rebounded from the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. But first, our Research Center Manager, Ashley Chisholm, tells us about what happened this week in Adventist history.
During This Week in Adventist History, the April 16, 1925 issue of the Review carried an article by W.F. Miller. Miller tells the story of a young woman he had encountered in his mission work in the Lake Titicaca mission in Peru. Carmen Vaca was 18 or 19 years old, and yet she had already been working at an Adventist mission school as a teacher to those from her people group, the Amara. At the beginning of the 1924 school year, there was a big need for teachers among the Quechua people, and Carmen stepped up to meet that need when she was appointed to teach at a mission school in Laro, about 100 miles from her home. She traveled with her mother to Laro, becoming the first Aymara woman to be sent as a teacher to the Quechua people. Soon she was called to travel even farther away from home in order to work not only as a teacher, but as a Bible instructor, partnering with a man who was already working there. However, another teacher in a neighboring location unexpectedly died, and her partner was called away to fill that vacancy. Carmen was left, quote, in sole charge of the 60 or 80 boys and girls in her school. She had to learn a new language, teach Bible lessons to her students' parents, and even had to conduct the Sabbath services, as the only pastor in the region was at Laro. She was paid 17 soles a month for this work, which at the time was about $2 and which today would be around $35. She and her mother spent 6 months there. Here you can see the photograph of them that was printed in the review. In those 6 months, Carmen prepared 40 candidates for baptism, rising at 3 or 4 a.m. every day to travel by horseback from home to hold studies with these candidates. When she returned to the Lake Titicaca mission for additional training, she shared her experiences with the mission staff, including Miller. "The Lord saved us not only from death, but from sickness as well," she told them. "Thieves prowled about, but we were not harmed. Enemies sought to do violence against us, threatened to kill us and level down our place, but they never came. I prayed as I had never prayed before, and the Lord heard us." Carmen's story comes from This Week in Adventist History.
You can find research findings on many different topics relating to the Adventist Church at adventistresearch.info. Sign up for the ASTR research newsletter, explore our blog, and read original research reports, all available at adventistresearch.info. That's adventistresearch.info. It is now time for another uplifting story from the Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists. The story that Dragoslava Santrac and I will share with you today is about two Norwegian Adventist missionaries to Uganda, Magdalene and Keziah Lind. You can find this and nearly 4,000 other stories at encyclopedia.adventist.org.
Before Africa had road networks, hospitals, shops, or other conveniences, Magdalene and Keziah Lind pioneered the Adventist work in the Toro Kingdom in western Uganda. The Linds received their first missionary service call to Uganda from the Northern European Division with headquarters in London a week after they were married on June 1, 1935. The two had met and been baptized at Onsrud Mission School, an Adventist boarding school near Jessheim in eastern Norway, on April 1, 1927. Between 1930 and 1935, Magdalene studied theology at Newbold College in England, and Keziah became a registered nurse. Upon arrival in Uganda in 1935, they joined the Nshanga mission station in midwestern Uganda, where some other great missionaries had served before them, including Spencer Maxwell, W.W. Armstrong, and G.W. Ellingworth. Organized in 1926, Nshanga Mission Station was the first Adventist mission station in Uganda and the heart of the Adventist mission work for many years. Even to this day, the people of Western Uganda refer to Seventh-day Adventists as Abashwanga, meaning the people of Nchwanga.
When the Linds arrived in Uganda, the mission field was vast and the workers were few. Nchwanga Mission Station was under the Central Uganda Mission, with F.H. Mudespach as its superintendent and headquarters at Kireka. It covered the kingdoms of Buganda, Bunyoro, and Toro. The Eastern Uganda Mission, under the leadership of Pastor E.R. Anderson and with headquarters in Mbale, covered the districts of Busoga, Budama, Bugwere, Bugishu, and Teso. Magdalene Lind served at Nchwanga with 7 African workers for 1 year. In 1936, the Linds were transferred from Nchwanga to the Eastern Uganda Mission, where Magdalene served as the mission superintendent as well as Kokoro Mission Station Director. At Kokoro, with the help of his wife Keziah and 2 African workers, E. Kabuga and E. Rewe, Magdalene started a school and a dispensary. After almost 9 years in Kokoro, the Linds requested to leave in 1944 in order to pioneer the work in Toro Kingdom, which they had been told had a cool climate throughout the year with fewer malaria-causing mosquitoes. Their first 2 children, Ged and Elsa, had been born while they were working at Kokoro.
Their request was granted, and the Lind missionary family moved from hot, dry Kokoro to the cool mountainous region of the Toro Kingdom the same year, 1944. They first built a church and a dispensary at Kagorogoro on the Fort Portal Kampala Road in 1945, but continued looking for larger, more strategic property on which to construct the headquarters for the new mission station. The Linds did not seek infrastructural expansion to establish a name for their organization. They first and foremost loved the people they served and sought their good. The Linds fitted into the society in which they worked and behaved as if they were part of it. They prayed and ate with the Ugandan people regardless of their status or faith. They spoke local languages to reach out to people and visited them in their homes. They taught the people how to read and write before baptizing them. They encouraged them to read the Bible and taught them Bible doctrines. With his winning ways, Magdalene befriended the king of Toro, Kamurasi Rukidi III. He asked the king to allocate a hill in Fort Portal for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, reminding him that his father had allocated Kabarole Hill to the Anglican Church and Virika to the Roman Catholic Church. Magdalene wanted to build a church headquarters, a hospital, a primary school, and a secondary school in the heart of the town of Fort Portal. The king appreciated the idea and took the proposal to his council.
However, the king's council refused the request because Fort Portal already had facilities built by 2 other Christian denominations as well as by Muslims. The king told Magdalene that the Bakonzo people needed these type of facilities more than the urban dwellers in Fort Portal, who were already being taken care of by other religious groups. The home of the Bakonzo people was Kazingo, located at the foot of Mount Ruwenzori. The king allocated his own land at Kazingo to Magdalene, and here Magdalene began preaching the gospel in June 1946. In October, he started constructing a church building and a 2-grade school. When the Bakonzo people heard Magdalene preaching and interpreting the Bible, they admired his message. They flocked from the mountains to attend church services. Others sent their children to school to learn how to read and interpret the Bible. Magdalene received news that a white settler, Daniel Frederick West, was selling his tea and coffee plantation. Magdalene contacted West and bought the land. This location, at the foothills of the Ruwenzori Mountains, about 5 miles south of Kazingo, came to be known as Mitandi Mission. After securing the land at Kazingo and Mitandi, the Linds remained at Kagorogoro until renovations at Mitandi were completed. In 1948, they moved from Kagorogoro to Mitandi, which became the new headquarters for the Ruwenzori Mission Station of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. From this location, Magdalene Lind served the whole of western Uganda, including Banyuro, Toro, the Ruwenzori Mountains, Ankole, and Kigezi.
Magdalene also built a dispensary where Keziah did a tremendous work as a nurse and physical therapist. Keziah frequently handled more than 100 cases per day. Those who could not afford to pay were treated for free. She traveled to various dispensing centers on the public bus. Keziah worked around the clock and used the money she collected from patients to buy medicine and dispensary equipment. Later, her 2 daughters, Gerd and Elsa, were also trained as registered nurses and did similar work in the years they spent as missionaries in Africa.
Yes, and it's important to highlight the Linds' financial support of the Mitandi station. Most of the buildings were constructed with money donated by them. At the school that the Linds built at Mitandi, many young people from the region came to study. Many of the Bakonzo people were baptized at Mitandi and started going to school. Some of the students later served as pastors, church elders, lay preachers, teachers, health workers, university professors, and church administrators in various parts of Uganda and beyond. Those who returned to their home areas established churches and lower grade schools.
To the people of Ruwenzori, Magdalene and Keziah Lind were missionaries par excellence. The people dubbed Magdalene God's angel to Mount Ruwenzori, which says it all. To date, the people of Mount Ruwenzori still recall the Lind family as part of their community because their actions spoke more than their words.
Magdalene and Keziah Lind are remembered as models of Adventist preachers, teachers, and medical workers. Although they have now passed to their rest in Jesus, the fruits of their sacrificial work, which can be seen in the strong Ugandan Adventist Church of today, still speaks to thousands of people. Read the whole story about Magdalene and Keziah Lind and many others in the Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists, available at encyclopedia.adventist.org. That's encyclopedia.adventist.org.
Did you know that the General Conference Archives and the Reebok Memorial Library have a growing number of finding aids related to their collections? These guides to specific collections of enduring value help researchers get an idea of what they want to look at before making a physical visit to our office. You can find them at adventistarchives.org/ASTR-finding-aids.
Welcome to the latest statistical nugget from the ASTR Data Collection and Publication team. For this episode's statistical nugget, we will talk about charts 9 and 10 of the 2022 Annual Statistical Report. Charts 9 and 10 are found on page 7 of the 2022 ASR, and these detail total accessions to membership Accessions are baptisms, professions of faith, and rebaptisms of former members. Chart 9 depicts accessions by division over 5 years, and Chart 10, world accessions over 10 years. Charts 9 and 10 of the 2022 ASR demonstrate that 2021 accessions rebounded considerably after the dramatic drop in accessions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. This shows that despite the negative effects of COVID-19, accessions in 2021 were back over the 1 million mark, where they have been for 18 of the last 22 years. In 2020, accessions had dropped to 803,430. However, in 2021, they grew to 1,069,234, a remarkable 33% increase. In Chart 9, you will see that nearly every division's accession increased from 2020 to 2021. In fact, accessions in the Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division increased by 80%, and those in the North American Division by 73%. Our church continues to grow, thanks be to God. For more information on world statistics of the Adventist Church, go to adventiststatistics.org.
Thanks so much for joining the team from ASTR, the Office of Archives, Statistics and Research at the Adventist Church's World Headquarters. It's our privilege and pleasure to share inspiring stories about the church of yesterday and important information about the church of today. We appreciate all of you who have been tuning into the previous episodes, and we hope you will join us again soon.